Out here, landmarks are not just scenery. They are promises in granite and open air. Proof the road is real, the route is true, and you are still moving with purpose. This is a place between lives, not a destination. You do not settle here. You pause, patch what is breaking, keep your hands busy, and let the fear hide where no one can see it. On the trail, history is not speeches or banners. It is hands, repairing, sharing, lifting, and holding together what the miles keep trying to pull apart. One small fix at a time. They called this a register because people needed proof they existed. A name in stone, a quick mark of courage, so the wind could not erase them before the unknown swallowed the trail. Water means time, and time means hope. At the riverbank, every refill feels like permission to breathe, to wash the grit from your throat, and to believe the next stretch is possible. Out here, a broken wheel is not an inconvenience. It is a verdict. You stop long enough to survive, or you push forward and risk losing the wagon, the animals, and the day. Some days, the journey is not progress at all. It is waiting in the same dust, learning patience the hard way while the line of wagons barely shifts and everyone watches the horizon. At night, the road gets louder inside your head, so you listen to the wind instead, count the sparks, and wait until morning arrives to give you permission to stand and move again. Morning does not arrive with comfort or ease. It arrives with a warm cup, a stiff back, cold fingers, and the stubborn decision to try again anyway, no matter what yesterday cost. Even here, childhood survives in small flashes, not because the world is safe, but because the heart refuses to live only inside fear, and laughter still finds a crack to slip through. On the trail, care is improvised, half medicine, half prayer. You do what you can with rags and herbs, then hope the body agrees to keep going for one more sunrise. A map can show direction, but it cannot promise mercy. Every line forward is a question you answer with your feet, your breath, and the courage to trust what you cannot see yet. The wind keeps moving, but the stone remembers. Even when names fade and scratches soften, the fact of passing through stays pressed into this place like a quiet oath. At stops like this, people trade more than supplies. They trade stories, warnings, and small proofs that someone else felt the same dread and still found a way to keep walking. The trail teaches a quiet skill. Mend what you can, carry what you must. Do not wait for perfect conditions. You move when you can, because delay is its own kind of danger. Leaving is always unfinished and a little bitter. You go anyway, because the road does not ask if you are ready. It only opens forward and expects you to follow. The land keeps a record in quiet lines, ruts, footprints, broken stems. A trail written by ordinary days of endurance, where even the ground remembers who struggled here. Exhaustion has a taste: salt, dust, and sun. Still, the eyes keep searching the distance, because stopping is not always an option, and the horizon is the only promise left. In places like this, value changes by the hour. A little food, a strong strap, a single nail, small things that decide whether tomorrow is possible or whether you fall behind. Here, time is measured by light on stone. When the shadow shifts, you know you have spent another piece of your life on the way, and there is no refund for it. Even on a frontier road, people chase small, clean moments. Not for luxury, just to feel human for one more day, rinsing cloth and pretending the dust has not won. The trail taxes the body in quiet ways, one step at a time. When shoes give up and feet blister, you learn how far willpower can carry you before it starts to fray. Not every story makes it to the next mile. Some end here, marked by stones and silence, remembered by strangers who bow their heads and keep walking anyway. Some messages never leave the wagon. They are written to steady the heart, proof that someone still has a past, a home behind them, and a name worth carrying. They do not count miles anymore. They count portions. What is left, what is missing, what can be stretched until the next river, and what must be given up without complaint. The animals carry the weight, but they also carry the fate. If the team fails, the road becomes a wall you cannot climb, and the dream turns into a burden in the dust. Fear does not always scream. Sometimes it whispers between partners, between choices, Between the miles, they are not sure they can finish, and it waits for a weak moment. Landmarks do not follow you, and that is the lesson. You leave them behind like proof you survived this part, even if you cannot picture what comes next beyond the bend. Dust gets into everything: clothes, food, lungs, sleep. It is the trail's signature, stamped onto every day you live through, until you stop noticing and start enduring. Routine becomes a shelter when nothing else does. Cut wood, build fire, boil water, mend cloth, repeat until the mind believes tomorrow is possible and the hand stays steady. Nothing out here is permanent, only patched. You do not repair for beauty, you repair for motion, for the next hard mile, for the simple right to continue. A camp like this runs on unspoken rules. Share, watch, repair, endure. Community is not a choice, it is strategy, because isolation is how the trail picks you off. Sometimes they burn sage just for the smell. One breath that does not taste like dust. One moment that feels almost clean, like memory of a room with closed doors. That hollow sound inside the barrel is relief. It means tomorrow will not begin with thirst, and for a while, the worry in your chest sits down and rests. Every group has a road doctor, someone who can listen to a wagon like others listen to a heartbeat. They hear the squeak, the wobble, the warning before it becomes disaster. In the heat, the world looks like it is melting. The horizon wavers and lies, and you learn to walk towards something you cannot fully trust, because it is all you have. They take small souvenirs, stones, feathers, scraps of proof. Because the road steals so much, they try to keep something back, a token that says, "We were here." Dinner is a kind of signal to the whole camp. If there is smoke, there is still a plan. If there is a pot, there is still a future you can taste. A single strap can decide a whole day. So they stitch and restitch, knot and tighten, holding the journey together with simple leather and stubborn patience. For a few hours, the stone becomes shelter. Not a home, just a pause where the wind cannot argue as loudly, and tired bodies can finally unclench. Even sunlight feels sharp out here. It bounces off tin and tools like a reminder that nothing stays gentle for long, and comfort is always borrowed, never owned. Sometimes a song rises, just a few lines, then disappears. Not entertainment, a rope thrown across the dark, so the heart has something to hold on to. They wash with a cupful, like it is enough to reset the world. For 1 minute, the dust loses, the face returns, and the mind remembers what clean once meant. A sharp blade is security. Food, rope, repair. Preparation becomes its own kind of prayer, because a good edge can turn panic into a plan. Laughter shows up like a visitor, unexpected, brief. It does not fix anything, but it proves the spirit is still alive and capable of light, even here. They cook over coals, not flames, saving fuel and time. Every small choice is a lesson in lasting longer than the day, in surviving the week, in reaching the next river. Strength is not always muscle or pride. Sometimes it is letting someone hold you up, accepting help, so the road does not take you first. When the storm arrives, the camp turns into a crew. Fear becomes action. Tie it down, cover it up, stack what can break, and ride it out together. Rain makes the world smaller in an instant. Canvas becomes your sky, and every drip teaches you how fragile shelter is, how thin the line is between dry and soaked. After rain, the trail turns heavy and hungry. Progress becomes a fight against the ground itself, as wheels sink, boots slip, and patience is tested one shove at a time. After thunder, there is a silence that feels earned. You count what survived, then feel grateful for ordinary air, for breathing without bracing for the next strike. They dry their world in the sun, blankets, boots, hopes. The road does not care about yesterday. It waits for you to stand up, shake off the cold, and continue. Leaving takes discipline more than emotion. You pack your life into minutes, because the road rewards those who do not linger too long and punishes those who hesitate. The last ember goes out like a goodbye. Warmth becomes memory, and the day turns back into miles and wind, as if comfort was never meant to stay. Before you move, you read the sky like a book. Weather is another kind of law out here, and it changes without warning, rewriting the plan in a single hour. And then it happens, the first turn of the wheel. Not dramatic, just steady. As the unknown opens and you enter it, carrying everything, you are in a thin wooden frame. The dust comes back like a familiar voice. It means you are moving, and movement is the only answer the trail accepts, even when your lungs protest. Some miles are quiet, not because life is easy, but because everyone is saving their breath. Silence becomes a tool, a way to keep going when words run out. Water is life, and it is heavy. Every step with a bucket reminds you that survival has a real weight, sloshing near the rim, demanding steady hands. It does not follow you. It only gets smaller. The rock becomes a shape in haze, then a thought you carry forward, until even the thought must make room for tomorrow. Every evening brings the same question. Do we push farther, or stop before the dark turns the world into a trap? The answer is never simple, only chosen. A wagon circle is a simple geometry of safety. It says, tonight we hold our ground, we watch the edges, and we keep the small flame alive in the center. Sometimes, leadership is just counting the living, making sure everyone is still here, still breathing, still part of tomorrow, and that no one has slipped away unnoticed. A lantern does not defeat the night. It makes a small island of light, enough to see a hand, a face, a reason to continue while the darkness waits outside the glass. Under these stars, you feel how small you are, and somehow that makes the courage feel bigger, because it has to be. You carry it anyway, step by step. Morning does not ask how you slept, or if you slept at all. It just arrives, and your body negotiates with pain before the first step and the first breath. Flour looks like snow when it falls, briefly beautiful. Then it becomes bread in rough hands, and bread becomes another day you can afford to attempt. The promise is simple. Keep moving. Not because you are fearless, but because staying still costs more than the road, and time does not wait for comfort. The sun draws its own borders on the body. You learn to protect every inch, because pain accumulates one bright hour at a time, and shade is never guaranteed. Sometimes the road leaves bones behind, a broken wagon, splintered wood, proof that not everything makes it, even with effort, and the trail keeps its receipts. Sharing water is trust in its purest form. It says, your life matters to my future, because we are not surviving alone, and kindness is fuel too. Storms do not need to touch you to change you. Seeing them on the horizon reminds you how small control really is, and how quickly the day can turn. They do not look for beauty. They look for confirmation. Something ahead that proves the map is not lying, and that the next landmark will appear before strength runs out. Pain is constant, but so is adaptation. They wrap, tie, stand, and step, because the road does not accept excuses, and the body learns new rules. Shade this small feels like mercy. Just a few minutes where the sun stops shouting, and the mind can unclench, and the heart can beat without panic. Hope can be as small as a knot of cloth, something to touch when the future feels too big to hold, a tiny ritual that keeps the spirit from slipping. The trail gets into your teeth, your throat, your thoughts. You swallow it because there is no clean way through, only the stubborn way forward. Every night, the same ritual. Fix what tomorrow will demand. The road breaks things, and they learn to answer back with tools, knots, and calm hands. Between chores and miles, there is a pause. Just long enough to feel everything you have been avoiding, and then to set it down so you can keep moving. The road charges a price in little pieces: torn gloves, bent nails, cracked cups. The losses add up until you realize you are spending yourself to arrive. Some mornings are cold enough to sting. The body wakes up angry and stiff, and still the day demands movement, focus, and a steady face. Warmth is something you share. One blanket becomes a promise that nobody gets left alone in the cold, and that comfort, when it exists, is communal. Every crossing is a test. One wrong angle, one hidden rock, and the road steals a wheel, or worse, without apology. So they guide, brace, and pray. They mark time in simple strokes, not to remember every detail, just to prove the days are passing, and they are still here, still counting forward. In a single beam of light, dust becomes visible. Tiny pieces of the road turn air into something you can almost touch, and for a second, the world feels slowed. People left their names here like anchors. The voices are gone, but the need to be remembered still lives in stone, holding against wind and time. This is not a destination. It is a threshold. Here you stop being who you were and start becoming who the road allows, shaped by distance and necessity. They move forward without certainty, only momentum. And somehow that is enough to step into what they cannot see yet, trusting the next mile to exist. When they leave, the place does not speak. It holds the outline of what happened, like a breath that never fully disappears, and then the wind smooths it away. Independence Rock is a point between lives. People rested, repaired, and carried their fear forward, then stepped into the next unknown with nothing but resolve.